Hello, 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 hello. It's good to see you. Say hello.
Welcome to the Huskies Hockey Podcast. Weldie and Andrew here to talk very little, actually, this time about Huskies hockey, as it is our annual. What is this? Third annual now, Jake?
Third plus one in the old days, right before the NHL draft.
Oh, there. That's right. So we've got our highly anticipated recurring segment here for World Junior Preview. A little bit more special here because it's down in the Twin Cities area. St. Paul, Minneapolis is having the World Juniors, and we have a lot to talk about as Team USA is set to try to make it three-peat. And what hasn't been done since Canada, I think, did 3 or 4?
Yeah, Canada did 5, and then the US broke that with the Great Game in 2010.
And then who was on that 2010 team? Already, I'm putting you on the spot.
For the US, it was John
Yeah.
Carlson scored the overtime goal, and I think that's the moment people remember. But that US team had what was it? Derek Stepan was on it, and
Hastings' own.
Yeah, Dean Blaze was the coach. And that's where the Kreider might have been there, Chris Kreider. That's where I think the big first famous "Oh Mama Don't You Cry" video came out of after winning that one.
Oh yes, that's Team USA still use that.
Yes, they do.
As they should, because that is classic at this point. Was that the? I'm trying to remember. That wasn't. Was that where Mike Lee got pulled?
Yes, that's the one.
Right? Okay, yeah. So and then Mike Lee.
Both goalies got pulled because it was.
We don't remember.
It was Jake Allen starting. It was Jake Allen starting for Canada, and he got pulled for Martin Jones.
Oh, I love a double pull game. Just absolute chaos. And then Dean Blaze, and then Mike Lee ended up still never beating North Dakota. But anyway, that's a whole different aside here. So anyway, Team USA trying to make it a three-peat here. Just kind of as of recording right now, USA has a couple of cuts yet to make. But Bob Motzko there at the helm. We all know Bob in, kind of big tournament games as well. We all know the history there. At least St. Cloud fans have definitely lived through that. Trying to buck that trend, though. And here we are for the Team USA and a lot of NCHC representatives as well that we can talk about, and just kind of the general makeup of the team overall. For this tournament, what are you looking at for Team USA? What are kind of some things that kind of strike out to you as big glaring points, good or bad?
Well, I'll defend Motzko, who is currently.
You don't need to. You don't need to. Don't worry about it. Not on this podcast, Jake.
In the fact that he does have a World Junior title under his belt in 2017.
In a shootout, which is hilarious.
They did win that one in the shootout.
I think it's the only shootout he's ever won in his entire
until this year. He finally got off that mark this year. It's kind of crazy.
We do lift our no Gopher fan ban for Jake every year as well to be on this podcast. So we do have to make sure that a little bit of rip. But and Jake, prove me or correct me if I'm wrong, but you're Gopher fan by choice, right? Like you don't have like a real connection. You're just like I want to cheer for this team for some reason.
It really came down to I was 12 years old. The Frozen Four was going to be hosted in my home area of Washington, D.C. I was already planning well in advance to go to the Frozen Four. And I said, I want to follow college hockey. And the way a 12-year-old with his parents' TV connection figures that out is what team is the most games on TV? And the answer to that was the University of Minnesota that I could watch from my home in Maryland. And that's how it happened. So I apologize. I've made some good friends who root for rival schools, but this is, for better or for worse, what I am.
Yeah, fair enough. All right. So you got a little defense of Motzko. What are your thoughts on the makeup so far of this team?
You know, when I was looking at this coming in after last year's tournament, the great overtime winner by Teddy Stiga, I said, well, that's going to be the last one they win for a while. And spoiler alert, I still think that, but the U.S. team is not in nearly as dire straits as I thought it would be even into the summer. There was the forward group is still really good. The defensive group has more horses on it than I thought. The goaltending, bit of an issue. Defensive depth, bit of an issue. But, you look at the real talent on this team. Cole Hudson on defense. The kid Chase Reed, Michigan State commit eligible for the 2026 draft. And up front, I mean, UNCHC fans know all about Max Plant. And Will Horkoff at Michigan's having a great season. Cole Iserman, James Hagen's the big names. There's some Riker Lee at Michigan State, another good one. They can, if they end up surprising the world and getting a win, I don't think they'll have been lucky to do so. This is a team that on paper may not be favored to win, but they can.
When I was kind of looking over the roster, a couple things that stood out to me, at least, is goaltending was kind of one, where Caleb Heil is looking at the, I guess presumptive number one. Would you say, or you're looking at Kemp, or is it going to be kind of a tandem situation through the group stage?
Heil is a good goalie who just led the U.S. to a win at the World Junior A Challenge, but Kempf is the established college goalie. The wild card here is Brady Noling, 2008 birth year, who I didn't even think was eligible because he was born and raised in Canada and just happens to be playing for the NTDP, and the International Ice Hockey Federation has some dual citizen rules that I guess Noling passes through. I think it's going to be Kempf getting the 1A role because, he has a starting job in college, which no other American goalie of his age does. If Heil were in college, I think he might have had a shot, but I could see in the realm of a Trey Augustine a few years ago, 3-time starter, Noling maybe pushing Kempf and taking the spot. But it's on paper, you look at Canada and their 2 second-round goalies and their first-round goalie, it doesn't measure up to that, admittedly.
Yeah, Kempf, as they're saying here, Notre Dame starter.
Yes, that's correct.
Second year there, and Notre Dame's been pretty bad the last 2 years. So these numbers, .893 save in both of his 29 games combined at the NCAA level in the last 2 years, and a lopsided win-loss record more towards the L's than the W's. But you got to factor in the Irish in a transition period, new coach this year, and they've been a mess, frankly, in the Big Ten, sort of the doormat, certainly this year. So is it one of those situations where kind of put those numbers, take them with a grain of salt? And he's going to obviously be having a much better defensive core in front of him at the World Juniors than he does in South Bend currently. So it is kind of seeming like conventional wisdom that he's at least maybe get the first chance to start for the U.S. here.
Now, I like Nick Kempf. I think he is a good goalie, Washington Capitals prospect. I'm not sure exactly what his upside is, but if he ends up as the number one, I think he would be deserving. I think the issue is you look at what the U.S. has had in the past. If you look at Trey Augustine's backups the last 3 years, and I did some research on this, it was Caden and Barrico the first year. Good college goalie. Won't play in the NHL due to size, but a good, sometimes very good college goalie. Jacob Fowler was a backup to him. Jacob Fowler was a great college goalie and has already made his NHL debut. And last year was Hampton Slakinski. What did he do last year? He won a national championship. And those guys were all backups to Trey Augustine. So as Americans, we've kind of been spoiled.
Yep.
And now I guess we kind of have to look for something regular, but Kemp's a good goalie. Brady Noling, Boston University commit, is a 6'5" guy who will probably go fairly high in this year's draft. I think the number one spot is open, and maybe not as dire as, again, I thought last year, but it's not going to be, at least as of now, a strength like it has been.
Mm-hmm. And Heil is a North Dakota commit as well. I
good
believe.
Goalie.
So
Tampa Bay Lightning prospect. Good goalie.
And he's kind of been talked
you don't
up.
often.
Yeah, he's been talked up by UND fans as, hey, finally we get a recruited goalie coming in, because they haven't done that in recent years. Except they bring in Spunar sort of as a late commit this year, and he's really grabbed that starting job by the horns for them. So maybe there'll be a healthy competition next year between Heil and Spunar and Grand Forks.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't mean to disrespect Heil, but I think he is not going to be the number one in this tournament. And you know, USHL is a good league, and it's better to play there than not play at UND. But he just played for USA Hockey in a tournament starter, but one that was at more his current level.
Mm-hmm. You don't often see a lot of USHL players, in this tournament in general.
Right.
And then to kind of put that as a goaltender, it's definitely a step. So, that's definitely going to be kind of a battle to watch, a position to watch. Other thing that jumped out to me is looking at their, moving, I guess, from the crease in, looking at the defensemen. I was kind of impressed, at least with the size of this defenseman squad. Now, again, like you said, there's another cut to make, but you have, Fiddlers at 6'5" out of the WHL. Hensler's at 6'3". EJ Emery from North Dakota is at 6'3". Tanner Hendricks, who would be on this team if his brother didn't injure him, is also, I believe, 6'3" on the Huskies roster. And then obviously Kleber, who we've seen quite a bit over the last couple of years at Minnesota Duluth. I think he's 6'5", 6'6". So, a lot of size. So I'm going to take it that this group is going to really try to use that size, really be physical. When you get to the group stage here, because, with that, especially with, obviously I'm looking at Sweden. But it's, Canada and United States are in different groups this year. So, we're probably not going to face each other unless the stars align there in the middle rounds. But, it's just looking at, sometimes you take that size, you give up maybe a little bit of speed. In this type of tournament, it's kind of a coin flip on which one is going to win out in the end, in my opinion.
The size thing is interesting, and I think this is size behind the clear and obvious number one defenseman, who is the smallest defenseman on the roster, Cole Hudson, 5'10", 5'11", Boston University. Another member of the Hudson family. We see what Lane is doing with the Montreal Canadiens. Cole, Washington Capitals prospect, is going to be the offensive driver in this team, kind of like Zeev Buium was last year. But behind him, you do worry about where the offense is coming from. Chase Reed is having a great year in the OHL and will be a top 10 NHL pick this year, but he is still very young. So I think, the guys with size, I like, maybe not as big, but I like Luke Osborne at Wisconsin. And then you have Kleber, who's, I think, a really good defensive defenseman. EJ Emery is having a good season. I think because it's Hudson and a lot of uncertainty on the offensive end, you have to focus on shutting the other teams down, maybe even physically, especially knowing that your goaltending is a pretty big question mark at this point. You're kind of limited by what the player pool is doing, and you still have 2 cuts to make on the defensive end. But I think you're online with some of the strategy beyond Hudson.
Yeah, do we think who's going to be with Hudson on that top pairing?
That's a good question. I'm gonna
in terms of repeat guys on this roster. Hensler was there last year. Yeah, I was going to say Kleber, Hensler also have experience from last year. Emery was one of the last cuts from last year, but so I was kind of going with either Kleber or Hensley or Kleber or Hensler. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but yeah,
I'm looking at the lineup for the exhibition they played against Germany yesterday, and Hudson and Kleber were the scratches, which might give you an indication that they might be paired together.
Okay.
And Kleber shoots right, Hudson shoots left. It makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there is, in terms of, I think you hit the nail on the head there in terms of Hudson's going to drive offense from the point. The others, I think, are more in the defenseman mold. At least the ones that we're thinking of are going to be key contributors, ones that have experience with this team. You mentioned a couple of cuts are going to be coming from the defensive core. We're probably looking at the younger guys.
Yeah.
I mean, Brestevich, OHLer, one of the 2007 births.
Yeah, Asher Burnett, maybe.
Yeah, one of the several Michigan guys. You've got Burnett and this Dakota Rayom Mullen, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Another one of the Michigan guys. We get to talking about Team Canada as well. Michigan's got a lot of players either with the U.S. or Team Canada for this tournament. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. Who do you think is going to be the victim, quote unquote, of those last 2 cuts?
I think right now I'm thinking Barnett and Brestevich. Barnett doesn't really do anything flashy. He's a really good defensive player, but he's a late round pick with a year of eligibility. He might not make the team now. Brestevich, one of those CHL guys, even with the new NCAA ruling, it might not be his time right now. He's still eligible next year. I think they'll probably go for a little bit of age and keep all the super trees of their defensive group, like Blake Fiddler and Emery and Kleber and those guys.
Now, Brustevich, he plays for London, the London Knights of the O.
Younger brother of Hunter.
And he's not committed, right? No plans to go. Because I was looking through and I was actually kind of surprised on how many CHL players were committed. Like you had Chase Reed committed to Michigan State. You have
Kwasnica,
Jacob. Thank you for saying his last name because I was going to butcher it. But yeah, he's playing in the dub. He's going to be going to the U of M next year. Do you kind of see with the new Wild West, I guess, do you see that happening more often? And do you also see that the U.S. national team is going to maybe be more open to selecting WH or just CHL guys in general for this squad?
I think they have to be
than last. Yeah,
I think they have to be. And if you look at Motzko's years in 17 and 18, he was more willing to do it than future and past coaches were. Not every goalie would have started Tyler Parsons in that championship game. But I think you kind of have to. It's such a different world now, and a lot of guys either college hockey's getting older. Guys might even after the NTDP. This is the case with Jacob Kwasnica. Chose the WHL over the USHL when he wasn't able to, advance to college right away. I mean, Chase Reed's story is he was playing in the NAL and he just ended up on an OHL roster and started killing it. I think you'd be really doing it a disservice if you're kind of playing the politics game, because a lot of Americans are going to go up there, and some of them are going to go to college. Bristevich might not, because I think his brother was slated to go to Michigan and kind of got nudged back and decided to go to the O instead back when you weren't allowed to go, when the rule hadn't changed. So he might go straight to pro hockey. I don't know. I think if you're purposely limiting your player pool, especially now that the options are so wide open, you're really doing yourself a disservice.
That definitely makes sense. It's whether or not the powers of be USA Hockey kind of agree with that at all, or still want to stand on principle. I think some of that is, and maybe I'm just bleeding over a little bit for my fear of what Billy Guerin's going to do for the Olympic roster, but that maybe is aside from what our scope is right now. Now let's switch over then to the forward group. Now, obviously, I see a lot of returning names. You talked about obviously with Teddy Stiga, Hagens and Yzerman as well, and but you've got some kind of interesting names here. Who do you think is kind of maybe a little bit of a wild card that kind of jumps out to you as like this is kind of a guy that is posed to have kind of a big tournament where he might be a little bit under the radar for a lot of fans?
I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm going to put out Riker Lee here, and I know he's a first-round draft pick, but he didn't come through the NTDP, so he might not be as well known. I think he's a Michigan State player, Nashville Predators draft pick from Chicago, 6 goals, 13 points in his first 16 games of college. But I wasn't super familiar with him until I looked through the draft process last year, but this guy is so fun to watch. He's a real good one-on-one player, really good stick handler. He can make plays happen, and I think USA Hockey fans are going to see why this guy has become a pretty obvious top 6 guy through. He doesn't carry the name recognition of a Hagens or an Yzerman, but he is someone that this team cannot live without. I don't think. There are other. Max Plant is a great player, and you look at the season he's having at UMD. He's going to be an important piece. Will Horkoff for both the size and the youth component, but I think this forward group is really good.
Yeah, I was thinking, just kind of looking at this roster and compared to the last 2 years, which is it's a difficult, or maybe let's say it's a bit unfair for this group to be compared to the teams the last 2 years, how high end those two teams were. But my first glance, it might be a little thinner on scoring depth. But I think that's kind of expected when the kind of roster turnover that we had over from 1 year to the next. But I mean, looking at some of these names, if you're going to have Max Plant, sort of as a depth piece, playing second fiddle to the top end names that we've mentioned already. Have we mentioned Brody Zemer? I mean, there's
Brody Zemer
pick for you,
returner and the captain of the U18 team. I still don't know who's going to be captain this time, but
yeah, so he's coming back. Stiga, as we mentioned, big goal last year, obviously. Hagens, Yzerman. Was Trevor Connolly on this team as well? Probably.
Yeah,
he's in the AHL now.
Yeah, Connolly is interesting. He turned pro after his first year at Providence. So, again, you don't have the fanfare that he's playing over at Providence. I was actually just at that rink this weekend broadcasting youth hockey. But, playing against pros, I know Connolly's had some injury stuff this year. He's a first-round pick and a big name and a very talented guy. He's going to be an important player, too.
Yeah, I got LJ.
And that was one I was kind of surprised just with Connolly is that he 1 year at Providence, but even that was 23 games, 4 goals, 9 assists, so it's not like he was lighting anything on fire there. and so it's kind of interesting. It was one of those that it's like you saw that he turned pro, and it's like I think you could have cooked for a little bit longer, but obviously we're not in that position.
College might not have been the right fit for him.
Yeah.
You mentioned LJ Mooney.
Circumstances.
LJ Mooney, Logan Cooley's cousin, 5'7", 5'8", but having a very good freshman year and showing that he can handle the physicality of college hockey right away. And, Plant's a smaller guy too, but these are guys who can really put the puck in the net. And again, I don't think the forward group, at least the top 9, is really that stark of a drop off from last year. From last year, I know last year. What I always say about the group of Ryan Leonard and Gabe Perreault and Will Smith and all those and Zeev Buium and all those guys is they found ways to win. It wasn't a very deep NTDP roster, but they won every game that counted because they just had something in them. This group, I think, is probably like depth-wise a little deeper. Do they have that singular, like, Ryan Leonard, put the team on my back, we are going to win this game? I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, maybe that's a better way to look at it. Not so much that they're lacking depth, but they're lacking like a true star. I don't know, breakout star. Lots of flashy talent in the last 2 years on this roster. But some of these, we're mentioning these guys. Will Horkoff, who's leading the country in goal scoring right now at the NCAA level, already putting up a Cy Young season with 19 goals and 9 assists. He was a guy that came in mid-season last year as a 17-year-old, so I kind of got his feet wet. Now he's putting himself into star status at the NCAA level. And as you mentioned, 6'5" as a forward.
Yeah. NHL pedigree, Sean's kid.
Sean Horkoff's son. Yeah, so he'll be exciting to see another one of these Michigan guys.
Horkoff's been one of the most impressive guys to me because, Horkoff left the NTDP mid-season, and he's physically ready. Is he skill-wise ready? And as you look at this year, like, I think you look ahead to next year, Horkoff might be the best forward on next year's roster, like, on paper at this point, because first-round pick of the Penguins. Like, I have been so impressed. Like, Michigan has really made a mockery of CHL recruiting, but this guy they brought in as a 17-year-old is proven to be like, this guy is going to be in the NHL before too long.
I haven't seen a ton of him, just kind of highlights and snippets. But I feel he is, some of the guys where you look at your 6'5" and especially for forwards, it's like they don't really know what to do with their body sometimes, or they're just kind of awkward out there. But it kind of reminds me of a little bit like a Blake Wheeler type, where he uses his body and his frame, and he still has really good control and command of it. And maybe I'm just jaded by like the Ben Storms that we've had that just kind of look awkward out there. But it's I feel like Horkoff now, it might not be a stretch to say that I think he's going to be one that's going to have kind of a breakout tournament, but I think that's going to be kind of a player that I'm really excited for him to put up points and see what he can do on this stage.
I wish we were recording this at the point where the cuts had been made, so you kind of got a sense of where players would line up. But this top 9, I've been saying for most of the year, like, this top 9 is pretty competitive.
Mm-hmm. And they just had a exhibition game where they beat Germany 8-rip. And I missed this earlier as I was talking about Connolly, but he did suffer a lower body injury that did force him to miss the second and third period. And earlier I was also going to make a Mooney is related to Cooley kind of joke.
First cousins.
That's Names are very similar, but
yeah.
8 rip.
Here's some more lore that you can make fun of people in my fan base with. LJ stands for Little John.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. His name is John Mooney. LJ is Little John.
Little John? Little John and Robin Hood walking through the forest, laughing back and forth.
I want him to legally change his name to that. So it's Little is his first name and John is his middle name. So it actually is like legally LJ.
Yeah, no. When I found that out last year, it's like, man, this guy's lucky he's so good.
So, but yeah, 8 rip. That was, I believe, in Duluth, at Amsoil Arena, and obviously USA against Germany, kind of an expected outcome with that, but another pre-tournament game that they've got, I believe, is what they host Finland for the final pre-tournament, and obviously Finland is a team that always contends for a medal in this tournament. So that one is going to be kind of a interesting tune-up, to say the least, as those two teams go at it.
Yeah, I mean, Finland has a very good roster. They have a good goalie in Petteri Rimpinen. They have a lot of talented guys. The question about Finland this year is their best player is Konsta Helenius in the Buffalo Sabres system, and the Sabres, even though Helenius is an AHLer, wouldn't let him go. So, they're going to have to. That is
an entirely predictable Sabres thing to do.
Sabres just fired their GM, and they're still doing this. So. I mean, you're Minnesotans. You have Kiva Harju, a pretty big prospect on that team.
That's he's a defensive captain, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I'm excited to kind of see what Finland always seems like a team that is just one of those that is always incredibly deep, always comes at you, and now I look and they have another Koivu coming up on their team, so it's like
yeah.
It's like of course they do. So it's as kind of since we're on the topic right now, any we can talk about Finland, we can talk about any other teams. Kind of what other teams kind of stand out to you as either the favorites or kind of the ones to give USA the best run for their money?
It feels so cliche to say Canada, but Canada is really the team I'm looking at. I'm checking out their roster right now, which was recently finalized minus the goalie position, because Canada has this weird habit of only bringing 2, but that's a story for another time. A lot of the the big names that you're hearing for this draft, some with college connections, like Gavin McKenna and Keaton Verhoff, are on this team, and a few of the college freshmen and sophomores like Michael Hage at Michigan and Porter Martone at Michigan State. I'm looking at this roster. It's actually got 7 college players. Jack Ivankovic in goal from Michigan. But this is a team that, you think about it, and Macklin Celebrini is still eligible for this team. Matthew Schaefer of my beloved New York Islanders is still eligible for this team. They're not getting a few guys, but this team does look loaded. They have players with NHL experience, a lot of real talent on this roster. In my opinion, 3 very good goalies, although Carter George is probably the one who will start the important games. Like, this is a younger Canadian team than you usually see, but if I had to pick right now, that team looks like the favorite.
Quickly, as you were talking about Verhoff and McKenna, do you kind of see this as kind of auditioning for number 1 overall pick?
Yeah, a lot. Seems like a few of the scouts have soured on McKenna a bit. Maybe it's handling physicality or whatever. I mean, Verhoff certainly seems to be one of the guys in the mix. I know a lot of people like Ivar Stenberg, who will be on the Swedish roster. I think that, like, just like last year, although Matthew Schaefer really pulled away by the end, at this point in time, the race for number one is pretty well open, and a guy who has a big tournament can really make a bigger claim for the number one spot with a good performance here. Whether that's McKenna, whether that's Verhoff, whether that's Chase Reed in the U.S. system, we really don't know yet. One of those years where it seems wide open.
Canada's got to have a bit of a chip on their shoulder, you think? Two kind of, disastrous results for them. Relatively speaking, crapping out
to Latvia, yeah,
and
my beloved Latvia.
As you mentioned, so they're going a little bit younger. They're much more of a NCAA presence on this team. We talked about kind of the CHL effect on Team USA's roster. It kind of in flip side, much more NCAA participation here from Team Canada. Is this it's probably easy to say that just because based on recent results, but you look at this class, the top end names that we're talking about, McKenna, Martone, those kind of guys, Reshny, who we haven't mentioned yet, another NCAA player. Huskies would have saw him with North Dakota a couple of weeks ago. Verhoff as well. So obviously I think those guys would have been on the team no matter what, if they went NCAA or not. But I think last year when we had our preview show talking about Canada's historic trends on how they build their rosters, this being a little bit of a departure from that. Do you think that's a response to the last couple of years, the disappointments there? Or is it just maybe coincidence that they got a really good class this year?
I think it's in large part a response. It's in large part a couple of guys who you may not have expected to be unavailable, like Ben Kindle in Pittsburgh, or Berkeley Catton in Seattle, Sam Dickinson in San Jose, not being released. They did get a good chunk of NHL releases here. You look at Michael Misa, the second overall pick, is back on this roster, and they got a few of these guys. But I every time Canada doesn't win in the World Juniors, it's a national emergency for them. Anytime you lose to someone like Latvia, that's probably DEFCON 3 or something. So I think there is a response to that. I know they switched like their coaching setup. Like they made one guy who was an assistant with the Stars named Donskov, like a permanent overseer of Hockey Canada teams. He's an assistant to Dale Hunter. Yes, the famous one on the coaching staff of this one. So I think they have more oversight. I think the NCAA CHL rules really do put this in, do make a change because, again, like the US and the CHL, you're not being responsible if you're going to be like, oh no, like Porter Martone chose to go to Michigan State instead of continuing in the CHL or trying his hand at making the Flyers roster. We'll just not include them. No, you can't do that. Like, you're being irresponsible, and especially after 2 years of watching the U.S. win and what happened last year, I think it was time for some kind of shakeup in the mentality of this team. Whether this continues, we'll see. Hockey Canada does skew older for a reason. But they're coming in this tournament. And again, even if it were just the goalies I was saying this about, they are coming in this tournament as the best team.
Yeah, you're mentioning the NHL experienced guys on this roster. Mises, you mentioned a little bit with San Jose this year. Help me with the names here. Harrison Brunicky.
Brunick, yeah.
Got some action with Pittsburgh this year.
Yeah, Jetlichenko.
Zane Perek from
Perek.
Perek for Calgary as well. So, yeah, a couple of guys that have current experience in this season's NHL season will be taking the ice for this tournament, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it is different. Like one of the formative World Junior watching memories of is watching that 2010 US Canada game, and then on NHL Network Don Cherry is going out saying, "Well, look at all the guys Canada had in the NHL." So every time they don't win, that's kind of the default excuse. And like I'm sure if they don't win, it's like, "Well, look at Macklin Celebrini and Matthew Schaefer, they're not
and
here."
Schaefer, yeah.
But they did get a lot of help from and cooperation from the teams. And Lachenko had played in the NHL, I think, for a bit last year, and Brunick's surprise made the Pittsburgh roster. I don't think a lot of people would have expected Misa to come here, but he's here. Like this, the best part of Canada not winning, if they don't, is the sort of hair on fire reactions from everyone in Canadian media.
No. That's the best coping mechanism right there. And then it looks like also, I'm going to butcher this name, Kashan Atchison.
Yep, yeah, Atchison, the Islander pick, yeah.
Yeah, that's
big hitter.
Yeah, looking your future Islanders on the blue line there looks to be stacking up there.
In Matthew Darsh we trust.
Sure enough.
No. Atchison is a fun player. He just like throws all kinds of crazy cartoon level body checks that at least at the junior level work. I'll say that.
Sure enough. Yeah, we we could see that also with Peart at times. Some of those hits that worked in the junior level, and sometimes even in college didn't work nearly as much. But looking at this group as well for Team USA: Slovakia, Switzerland, Germany, Sweden, and the United States. Group B: Finland, Czechia, Denmark, Latvia, and Canada. So hopefully, that Canada-Latvia matchup, like you said, after Latvia ended Canada's run last year before it even started, I think they'll be circling that matchup as a revenge. But obviously, looking at the two favorites, I would say for Group A, you're looking at Sweden, USA. You're looking at Sweden, kind of their big potential first draft pick with Ivar Stenberg. Right now is playing in the SHL, and right now has got 24 points in 25 games. On a points per game is beating out former players like both Sedins, Peter Forsberg, that played at that level. So, I mean, he's Stenberg seems to be the, one of the other guys that are highly touted coming in that are really looking to vault Sweden up there to make a run at that championship.
They also have Anton Frondell, who was the third overall pick by the Blackhawks in this past year's draft. So I think, those two who I'm not sure if Frondell will be playing wing with or center. Stenberg's a wing, so it could be those two both on the top line. But those are two players that maybe the U.S. might not have like the same dynamic ability as. It's going to be tough. And, when we get into the medal predictions, I'm going to hammer this point home again. Sweden, a long and undeniable history of choking at this tournament. Like,
yep.
The 2012, when they won 1-0 over Russia on a overtime goal by Mika Zibanejad, is their only gold medal win, not just this century. I think you have to let me fact check this.
I think it was 81.
Yeah, that's right. 81 and 2012. So they're only one since anyone started paying attention to the World Juniors was 2012. So I have a hard and fast rule: never pick Sweden to win gold, but they could easily win the group. They've been doing that a lot.
Kind because during those years, also, I believe they've had an unprecedented group stage record.
Right.
Where group stage isn't a problem, but once you get to that tournament format, that especially Andrew loves a one and done tournament format, where it really rewards luck. Sweden hasn't had a lot of it.
Yeah, I mean, look, they finished second 4 times. They had they were second place in 2024 to the U.S. in really maybe the chippiest World Junior gold medal game I've ever seen, and it didn't have Canada in it. But one where the U.S. was just giving the business to the Swedish crowd. Really, that's going to get up there with one of my favorite World Junior wins, just because the visuals of like Rutger McGroarty and Ryan Leonard like giving every kind of taunt to the Swedish crowd. So like this Swedish group really hates the U.S. group and vice versa. We'll really see what happens. Sweden is kind of has like, you know, they play the same basically every year. I know they have a couple of college guys, Sasha Boumediene at BU. They have Bjork from Colorado College. They have Nilsson from Michigan State. But everything with Sweden, wait till the medal round and see what happens.
Yes, let's before we get to the medal round. What I like this, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too much into it, but so we got this group for the US. Their first game is against Germany, then Switzerland, then Slovakia, then Sweden. To me, that's kind of like in reverse order of the strength of that group. So you're kind of like easing yourself into the better competition. Am I overthinking that, or is that kind of like an ideal kind of setup for this Team USA for schedule for this preliminary round?
You know, I didn't even think of that. I think you're completely on the money right there. That's
all right. We're done with this show. Thank you.
Hey, that about does her on this episode.
Is that the first time you've ever been told that in this podcast?
Certainly on one of our World Juniors previews. Yes, I've been doing my homework. I'm trying to keep up.
I didn't even think of that, but yeah, I mean, maybe you switch Germany and Switzerland at this point, but other than that,
right.
like, you know, it's that definitely seems like you're going into the New Year's Eve game against Sweden, and that's going to be a big one. You know, they always are, but now in Minnesota with the Swedish population there, I'm sure a lot of people from Sweden would make the trip. New Year's Eve games are always fun, and if you can't play Canada, I think playing Sweden, especially with the animosity this player pool has towards Sweden, I think that's going to be a really fun one.
I think that's kind of an underrated aspect too going into this, or at least not really reported on. So I hope I could probably count on Schlossman digging up some kind of article about some of the feistiness between these two squads.
Yeah, they go against each other at the U18. They go against each other at the World Juniors, and you kind of just build up from there. Like, I think if you ask the more recent American players, the ones who have been World Junior age, I can't remember which one I heard say it, but like I seem to remember last year someone on the World Junior team saying like Sweden was the one he really hated. So yeah, no, again, one thing I wanted to ask you two as people in the state where this tournament is taking place, what's the buzz around the area like?
I have to recuse. I'm living in Arizona now.
Oh,
so but was in Minnesota for 30 years. That's enough for me. So I'm going to defer to Weldie on this
one. I would say it's actually a little bit more subdued now. St. Cloud is about 60 or so minutes away from the Twin Cities. So I would say a little bit subdued. I don't know exactly what the tickets or the promotional activity down in the cities have been. But I know they've been trying to really pump it up as, a huge event in the hockey world. But the big thing is also when I look at it is, okay, what's the accessibility then? What are ticket prices like? And, when I'm looking at ticket prices for some Team USA games going for, $200 or something like that, it's just like, that's a pretty penny now. But some of those ticket prices and those packages as well, like if you get a chance to get to these games, especially you're looking at some of those games going to be happening there at even at Mariucci, is going to be some incredibly good hockey that are going on. It is a little bit more subdued, but I think hockey as well kind of lends itself that way. And hockey itself is a really niche sport, and it kind of lives in this punk rock type world in a sense. And I think it's always had kind of a little bit of trouble breaking out of that and getting more mainstream. And maybe this tournament ends up doing it.
Yeah, makes sense to me. I'm just glad, after a couple go rounds in Buffalo, that we're not in a direct border town for the World Juniors with so like you're not giving a free ride to all the Canadian fans to hop over the border and then stay at home that night. Because I think that was a real big issue in Buffalo, is that like you could barely get in both times in Buffalo, that you could barely find an American fan even for the USA games.
Just over the falls.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least it's a little more effort this time.
Yeah, exactly.
But so the ticket prices.
We need it in Vegas. Is actually what Jake Baskin is saying.
So no, like Kansas, like the middle of the country.
That's not the worst idea.
The most
maybe for the players it is.
Yeah, and I will say too, to that point, I mean, my dad and my brother are going to I believe it's the Sweden-Switzerland game. So I mean, they're hockey fans. I'm probably more of a fan of like World Juniors than they are. I mean, they're more casual. My brother, especially, I don't know if this is an event that he generally is on his radar, but there was enough buzz for them to be, intrigued by a popular international hockey event that's going on in their backyard. So he did say that the ticket prices for any USA involved game was a little out of the price range, but happy to take in a European tilt at this event.
Yeah, no, I mean it's fun. I think it would have to be like in Boston again for me to like pull the plug and try and go. But it's something. This is going to be year 18 of watching the tournament for me, which is crazy to think about because I'm not even 30 yet. So
yeah,
making me feel
is. And this is a tournament too that I haven't even really heard of until. I mean, I guess I only kind of heard about it even when I was in college. You just heard a couple of players go, but it wasn't, I don't think, really on, kind of a mainstay for like at least Team USA to even like fill the competitive team nearly as much as it has been. It's kind of evolved into that. I feel, at least.
Yeah, was that 04? Was it 03 or 04 that the US won?
04.
And it was really out of nowhere. That was kind of the first time that the World Juniors, and was that was the first time the US had ever won?
Yes, it was the one where Marc-Andre Fleury shot the puck off Braden Coburn into his own net for the winning goal.
Was that Mike Eves?
Eves was the coach, yeah.
Okay. Sometimes it's weird. Like I can remember, I can separate the teams by the head coach a lot of the times if there wasn't. Like
that makes sense. I think I kind of do the same as well.
Parisi was on that team.
So
that was like the first time that it really was on my radar.
Like, what I did read was that the U.S. goalie was Al Montoya because the presumptive starter was Jimmy Howard and he got hurt.
That's right.
But I was 7 years old. I was not watching the tournament at that time.
Yeah, this is, we mentioned like that 81 title for Sweden, kind of in that same period. And this is even before the World Juniors were even like a big deal in Canada,
right?
For instance.
1990 was when they say it broke.
Well, so 82, just touch on this. This is the last time that the tournament was in Minnesota. And just to tell you, like, the difference of, how much of an event it is now based on back then, there was no like main host. There was games in Duluth. It was like 8 or 9 separate venues: Duluth, Grand Rapids, Brainerd, Virginia. The Met Center had a couple. St. Cloud had one game. International Falls. They even had games in Winnipeg. So a U.S. hosted
honorary event Minnesota
still had a couple of games in Winnipeg and Brandon, Manitoba too. So Mankato had a game, and they didn't have like a true medal round.
Right. They didn't until 96.
Yeah. The final game would have been a tie between Canada and Czechoslovakia in Rochester. That would have been like the biggest game. And that was Canada's first title as well.
Yep. I've heard of that.
I did some digging into that one game. It was Finland over West Germany, the game that was played at the MAC in St. Cloud. I did some research on that last year. I might have to dig into that more. Maybe I can do some writing about it. But again, not something that was really on even St. Cloud hockey fans' radar back then. The attendance averaged about 3,000 per game and across all these venues. So, I mean, this was 30 or 40 plus years ago at this point, but just gives you an idea of the evolution of this event, where it goes scattered about the state, and it doesn't really come to one climax title game. Now we have 2 venues, and we've got selling out seats and, healthy secondary ticket markets for these medal round games. Quite the change in 43 years.
Yeah, no, you look at the history, the big moments. I'm going to get a little nerdy here. The big brawl between Canada and the Soviets in 87, Piastany, Slovakia. Yep. In 1990, TSN in Canada starts televising the tournament, and that's really when it breaks. And it doesn't get televised by NHL Network until 2009, which was coincidentally my first year watching the tournament. And I don't know when the point it broke in the U.S., but the fact that the U.S. has won a few of them has probably, every win helps a little bit get more fans on.
And also, fun fact when it comes to that is that NHL Network has not increased the number of subscribers or TVs that the are showing it. So that's
I don't even have it anymore.
No, that's the thing. And that's the thing that ticks me off the most. And I swear I wasn't going to get on this rant, and I'll do an abbreviated version because I think everybody's sick of it.
We need a sounder.
Yeah, right.
It's like, it's a pretty regular rant here you have about the NHL Network. Please.
God, just get this tournament on real channels or follow PWHL model and just have it streaming. Yeah, ESPN Plus. Just have it somehow normally accessible, because the talent's too good for it to be ignored. The games are too good.
Yeah, no, we had NHL Network at the time. Then, the move to Connecticut, and we ended up on YouTube TV, and we don't get NHL Network anymore. So
who knows what you get on YouTube TV anymore? I'm fighting that battle pretty much, it seems like, every month. So anyway, the slightly off topic, but let's go to predictions then. Kind of who you got coming out of team or Group A, Group B. Who do you got in the medals?
So I was thinking about this a lot before we went on. I could see, any of the big 5, Russia's still out. So Finland, Canada, the US, Sweden, and even the Czechs, any of the 5, I think, have a shot at it. But I'm going to go Canada 1. I'm going to say Finland 2, and because I will never pick Sweden to win. They'll probably have to win twice in a row for me to ever pick them again. I'll say Sweden gets 3 and the US gets 4. It's tough because the US usually wins their bronze medal matches, but I think there are just too many questions about the defensive depth and the goaltending this year. But if they do end up getting bronze or even silver, I'm not going to be shocked at all.
Travis, what about you?
Oh, you're going to me. I was going to give the floor to you next. All right. You know what? I'm doing it. Obviously, Latvia is going to win. Latvia is always my team of choice.
They're
going
winning
off
the
board
group
here. Yep, exactly. It just stuns everyone. It's obviously my heart pick. If it's not Team USA, it's Latvia. And if I were to go to a game at Mariucci, I'd probably go to a Latvia matchup. And some of those games, just looking at those ticket prices too, not like you said, Andrew, not too bad. When it comes to it, they're somewhere around $20-$30, and then obviously $40, and then you have fees on top of it, probably so around 75-80 by the time it's all said and done. Anyway, I digress. Getting to predictions for the medals. I'm gonna go like you said, Jake. Team USA tends to win their bronze medal games. And so I'm going to go with Team USA in bronze. I'm going Canada for silver, and I am taking Sweden number 1. Ooh. Sweden bucks that this year. Wow. They so everybody can yell at me and tell me I'm a moron when they have their inevitable first round exit. But I've got Sweden taking it all. I like that team's makeup.
So Canada seems like a good pick for Group B.
Gavin McKenna has to stop scoring on his own net. I think that's actually
yes, that did happen in the pre-tournament game.
I think, yeah. So I'll predict that he avoids doing that, and then Canada will win their group. I'm going to go Homer, and I'll say U.S. wins Group A, but I'm not confident that they're even going to medal. So let's go. Let's go Finland over Canada, the title game.
I can see that.
I don't know if this can happen though. Can I have Czechia beating the U.S. in the bronze?
Sure thing.
I think. Let's see. If the U.S. wins the group and say Czechia finishes third in the other group, and
so it could happen. It could happen. Yeah, that's what we'll go. Czechia always seems to be like the team that's under the radar. No one really kind of talks about them, but they've been having good tournaments of late. So I'll go Czechia over the U.S. in the bronze, but Finland over Canada in the gold medal game.
I would also like to shout out this year's 10th team, Denmark.
Well, that was my next pick. Yeah, who's going to be in that relegation? Who's going to be in the relegation game? And Norway won Division 1? Is that what they call it?
Yes, and they'll be up next year.
So it'll be Norway next year. Who is going to fall back? Who's in that relegation game?
I'm going to say it's Denmark and Switzerland, because I think Germany's on a little bit better of a trajectory as a hockey country than Switzerland is right now. But I was reading Stephen Ellis at Daily Faceoff, and he does not have a very high opinion of this Danish team. So,
yeah, I would definitely play. I don't see Denmark being any higher than 5th in their group. I will go Germany. I agree that they're on a better trajectory nationally. They've just had some terrible tournaments the last couple of years, and I don't think that that's going to improve. So did they sweat out? Did they have to go to overtime to avoid relegation last year? Maybe it was 2 years ago. They've just had some disappointing tournaments. Perhaps that's going to be their motivation, but I'll go Germany fending off Denmark in the relegation game.
Yeah, they needed a third period goal to beat Kazakhstan last year.
In the relegation game?
In the relegation game. And they needed overtime to take down Norway. But I'm going to say They get 4th in the division this year, and Switzerland has to be the ones on their heels.
Okay. Always exciting, that relegation game.
That relegation, because that's a 3-game series, right?
Not anymore.
No.
Oh, no. That's kind of a bummer. I like it being 3 games. So
it'd be hilarious if that was a 3-gamer, but the gold medal game was just a one-off.
Just a one-off,
that would be perfect
right?
for me. Yeah,
right.
I love those series.
All right. Well, then I'm picking Denmark, so we all have different teams.
You're picking Denmark
to go down.
Yep.
I mean, I did pick Denmark to go down.
We all picked them. Yeah. I don't know. There's a Denmark
did we all pick
them?
Show. I thought you said Germany to go down.
Germany is going to beat them in the title game, in the relegation game.
Okay, then I'm taking Germany. Then I'm going to be the odd man out.
Okay,
I'm going to be somebody else.
So they'll be relegated out.
Germany will be relegated.
Okay. They've had some terrible tournaments.
Get out of here, Germany.
And again, shout out to Norway. They've already made it for 2027.
That's awesome. I'd like to see Norway. So, and then just with that, we did get a question from Dan Jacobson. Do you have a non-USA or Canada game that's the most interesting preliminary round matchup?
Ooh,
group stage matchup that doesn't involve USA or Canada. That is kind of intriguing.
Well, I think the obvious one is going to be December 29th, Finland and Czechia at Mariucci. It's in the afternoon, but I think, Group B is the group with 3 of the good teams this year, and the 2 that aren't Canada are playing each other, so I'm going to go chalk on that one.
And I would assume Travis, anything with Latvia, right? So maybe I'm
Finland, Latvia.
Finland, Latvia. Maybe that's their big.
Finland, Latvia.
I was going to say maybe their game against Denmark that they could kind of run the score up on.
They can run
Latvia, Denmark, race to the bottom. Let's go.
Race to the bottom. They're winning that group, according to Weldie.
They're winning that. Yeah, exactly.
So there are very few hockey countries I respect more than Latvia. I wish their population size had enough to make them like on the level of of even like a Slovakia. It would, if they had enough people to do that, because they really care.
I think it was last year, maybe it was 2 years ago. I haven't forgot it, Jake, when you pointed out that all the first names in Latvia end with an S.
Yes.
I can't get that out of my head now. And speaking of which, Spengler Cup's going on, and I did see that Martins, a.k.a. Marty, kind of goes by Marty now, but Martins Lavins, who is a one-time St. Cloud commit, ended up going to New Hampshire, made it onto that the U.S. Collegiate Selects, which you do not need to be an American to make that team. You just need to play for an American college hockey team. So I did see that Lavins, who's been injured but putting up a good year in the limited time he's played, is going to be on that team. So there's Latvian influence on the U.S. Collegiate Selects team at the Spengler Cup.
For the uninitiated to the Spengler, and I count myself as not really having watched the Spengler before, but knowing about it.
Same.
It's hosted by, I think it's Davos in the Swiss League.
Correct.
And they usually invite a Canadian national team of people who aren't on NHL contracts and a few other European teams. This year, that's HIFK in Finland, Freiburg Gotteron in Switzerland, and Sparta Prague in Czechia. But the twist this year is there is a team of U.S. Collegiate Selects who are overworld junior age. It's coached by Guy Gadowski of Penn State. It's multinational. And I think it's really a great experience for these players who might have the NHL in their future to get another crack at international hockey. You have a lot of the bigger, older names in college hockey being out in Connecticut. I really like Joey Muldowney from UConn. There's the older Plant brother Zam. Here, there's Gadowski's own kid, Mac, who's pretty good. And they have Guyon and from Duluth and Tracy from Mankato as their goalies. it's a fun experience, and I don't think how they do in the tournament necessarily matters. It's just a look at more players and a real fun event for some of these guys who either may have passed World Junior age or may have not cracked the roster and now get a chance to make a trip to Davos, Switzerland. I've never been to Switzerland, but I hear people who have say it can be a fun trip.
Yeah, Switzerland is absolutely gorgeous.
Get away from the college campuses in these cold months. It's fun.
Yeah, and it's the first time that this has really happened for a U.S. All-Star team, so to speak, at the Spengler Cup. As you mentioned, it's mostly like European pro teams,
right,
that are involved here. So we got like amateurs going up against pros, but yet a bunch of these amateurs are getting paid money now. It's a weird world that we live in these days. But and we even got some World Juniors vets in this. Danny Nelson, Eric Polkamp have played on the World Juniors in the past, obviously aged out now. But they get another chance to play some international hockey. I mean, it was a little weird because we had teams like Western Michigan. I'm not sure, like Mike McMahon had reported that Western was not allowing guys like Slukinski to play the Spengler Cup because they have games going on at this time.
I think Michigan State said that
Michigan State as well. And so the timing.
Michigan State I can understand because they had quite a few people on the World Junior team. Right. So like fielding a team might be tough. I mean, Western Michigan at this point, like, it's just kind of being petty.
But they have games. Yeah. They have
first puffing out his chest after winning the title or something.
Yeah. Right.
If anything, it might be the only time that they need to do this because they're playing a holiday tournament in Wisconsin and then playing Notre Dame the next weekend. So these guys, if they were to allow them to play either the World Juniors or Spengler Cup, would be missing for 4 games. We saw teams like Michigan is going to be off for like a month plus. They're just not playing games during this time. BC's kind of the same. So that's probably the solution in years to come, that, these big name kind of Big Ten / NCHC Hockey East powers will just not schedule anything from like middle December to the beginning of January. So it does not interfere with World Junior time. But now the Spengler Cup, who knows if this is going to be a regular thing? It might just be the only time that they do this. Who knows? It might depend on how successful this all-star team does there, or maybe they're too successful. Davos doesn't want them back. Maybe it's I don't know, a ratings boon on YouTube. I see that they're streaming the games. Maybe they think it's a good enough idea to kind of keep that a U.S. Collegiate team in the mix, kind of like how they do with the Canadian team.
More viewers there for YouTube than NHL.
It's kind of an unknown, and the fact that it is going up against the World Juniors, that'll be a lot of hockey going on. Us hockey fans will be well served during that time period. But I don't know. It's just I don't really have a frame of reference because, like you, I knew the tournament existed, never really watched it, never really had a great reason to do so. But now I do.
Yeah, as we appear to have lost Travis here.
He'll be back. He'll be back.
The Canada team, historically, I know it because it's generally a remember some guys tournament. Like, right. I think, like, I don't know, like, Joe Thornton has a wife from Switzerland. So, like, I don't know if he got in right at the end or maybe got in on the management group because it's for them too. It's really just to look at, hey, let's go to Switzerland at the holidays and play a tournament and maybe get some guys experienced. Like, maybe Devin Levi at Northeastern played in this a few years ago. Like, occasionally they'll use a college guy, but
I think it might have been last year. I know the Zane Gothberg / McIntyre. I can't remember what his name is now. He played at North Dakota. He was goalie at North Dakota.
Yeah,
he was like
McIntyre.
The MVP. He was like the MVP of one of these Spengler Cups, playing for like a German pro team. So I mean, there's like, as you mentioned, it's one of those guys kind of situations. Like, I hadn't heard that name in a while, but yet he still exists and was winning some hardware at one of these things. So yeah, but in terms of like having an all-star team, I think it's a cool idea. And just wondering, I can't even like predict how. I would assume they're going to kick ass, right? But I don't. Then again, I don't know how like the Canada's team that they're fielding for this is as well. So, but I would say just based on the kind of talent that the U.S. select team has, they'll be a tough team to beat.
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting. Obviously, they're probably giving up age, even as older college guys. I'm looking at like a reference of what Canada's team might have looked like last year. So my internet's being pretty slow at this point, but okay, it looks like last year they had a couple of like veteran NHLers. They had Sam Gagne and Matt Irwin. And okay, so Joe Thornton was one of the GMs of last year's team. But yeah, it's a bunch of European club teams. And Canada uses AHLers and some European pros and some maybe guys close to retirement who are looking for some kind of farewell tour.
One last hit at it.
Which I have heard does happen. Maybe some guys looking to get back into the NHL. Okay, there Travis is, so we can stop whining about this one. But I guess that's my Spengler Cup primer, and I hope this collegiate select team. I can't really call it Team USA because it's not quite accurate.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope this collegiate select team does well because maybe we'd want to see it again.
Yep. I think it's a fun opportunity. So, we, while we have you on, just kind of one last topic that I wanted to kind of broach. Obviously, also a big women's hockey fan. And just with us, WCHA second half kind of rolling around. How were your thoughts about the first half of the WCHA? How that has gone about as expected when it comes to obviously Ohio State and Wisconsin running away with it. But, I will say first and foremost, I was a little bit surprised looking at Abby Murphy's penalty total. Like, what's going on there? Why is that a lot lower than it has been in previous years?
Well, I think, there is a push on her to play smarter. I don't think she's necessarily changed her game that much. I think there was a big thing at the end of one of the Minnesota-Ohio State games where it seemed like everyone else got into some kind of brawl at the end of the game, and it ended up with Chloe Primerano and Gracie Graham getting suspended. So that was the big dust up this year. I think Murphy has done her provocateur stuff plenty this year. She's also just found herself really high on the score sheet. I am not like a thing that I have to wrap my head around as a longtime Minnesota women's hockey fan too is how far behind Wisconsin and Ohio State Minnesota even seems to be mentally.
Sure.
It's not made for a really fun watch, knowing that and again, I'm not getting any sympathy from the fans of teams in the WCHA that aren't quite as high as this, but the third best team in the country could be like a distant third in their own conference. I don't want to start trouble here, but this is the last year of Brad Frost's contract. And if they don't kind of show they can step up, even if they did have a win over Wisconsin earlier this year, you really wonder. Yep,
and the only team to beat those two teams this year.
You really wonder if,
but can't beat Mankato.
Can't beat Mankato.
Yeah, I know, swept by Mankato. I'm actually going to the games at Sacred Heart at the beginning of the year. I went to one of the games at BU as well. So I'm
been to that new facility yet?
Yes, I broadcast the game there last year.
Pretty nice.
Oh my God, it's incredible.
St. Cloud's got some hardware out of that building. They won the women's icebreaker a couple years ago there.
No, great building. I can't say enough good things about it. But like, this is a year of uncertainty for Minnesota women. Wisconsin, this is the end of their senior class. Harvey and Sims and Edwards and Eden and all those great players they have. So maybe their run being like the singularly dominant power, this could be like you could see a little more parity at the top next year. But I think Minnesota really has to look at what the future could hold if they're kind of confined to this third place spot, which is not a school with their financial situation and their expectations really wants to be in.
You heard it here first. Brad Frost on the hot seat.
On the hot seat. Baskin,
but
been calling for his head for a while.
I know. Well, I like thank him for everything he's done, but like know that like if something doesn't change, like you never know. I don't want to say anything, but like this is year one of a new coach on the St. Cloud side too.
Mm-hmm.
It is.
That's interesting. Like Idalski, I have so much respect for the job he did at St. Cloud. I know I'm not sure what you feel like maybe should have lasted longer. But I really like the way St. Cloud played, and we'll see what Miri Yalasuo can do for this program as well.
It was one to get it from where it was to even to 500 for 3 straight years, which is nearly incredibly implausible to even think about just a perfect 500 record. But to do that from where it was to have that quick of a turnaround, I wish he was still here. But I do like Yalasuo's, her mindset, and it seems like she has really taken that on. And I'm happy to see at least we're scoring a lot more goals. It's been a lot more of a dynamic, exciting team to watch. And we haven't been full on the back end all year. And you could say also last year too, we had a little bit of trouble with defensive health as well. Yeah. But as far as where St. Cloud's going, I'm really excited for the future. And we've got really the freshman class that we've had too. Here, McCallion has had, a great LeBay has been really important. So I think it's a good, we got a good future, I think, ahead of us.
Yeah, I think like you look at the WCHA now, and as someone who follows recruiting a little bit, it used to be that the top players from Ontario would wind up in the ECAC, but I think now increasingly the WCHA and all the schools in the WCHA are really looking to the Ontario Women's Hockey League and the parts north of the border. It's not just stay local and recruit now. You have, just like the men's game, you kind of have to go global.
Mm-hmm.
But like the WCHA, we'll leave Bemidji out of this, but like it goes 7 deep in terms of schools that really could beat almost anyone in the country on the best day.
Mm-hmm. Kind of related with that, St. Cloud has had a lot of success recruiting, especially Finnish players. And then having Yalasuo behind the bench. We've got, and I always say her name wrong, but
Nora
Ratu as well. So it's, and now, I mean, Sunderland is a dynamic up front. Kariko obviously is a stalwart in net. Hopefully we can keep those connections kind of going, because obviously those Finnish players over the last couple of years have been incredibly good to us.
Yeah. I mean, like it's never an easy game, as Mankato's sweep of Minnesota can can show you there are no cakewalks in this league. And again, as the group behind the top three, the group of Duluth, St. Cloud, St. Thomas, Mankato, has shown that group's competitive too. And in the best years, I know St. Cloud was on the doorstep of the NCAA tournament at points under Adolski, but players want to play in the WCHA and they want to face the best competition. I think that is a good thing for you Husky fans, and with someone with the reputation and defined mindset that Miri Elisuo has. I think things are hopefully looking up for your team as well.
Yeah. I certainly am impressed this year. I'm talking about would we have wished that Adolski is still here? In a sense, he kind of is, because this whole roster was recruited by him. That's the one. Elisuo started to bring her recruits in. They're trickling in now as they're announcing. Follow Sydney Wolf for news on recruits that St. Cloud's been picking up here recently. But that's the one kind of X factor we haven't seen play out on the ice yet, is her recruit. I mean, she had a hand in recruiting some of these players in her 1 year as assistant or Adolski as well. So even that, I suppose we have a little bit of data. But in terms of from a head coach, that is the one thing that that'll take a little bit of time to evaluate. But from her X's and O's, and as Weldie said, the focus on offensive production, be it from defenders or forwards, equally, they're both sort of tasked with being more aggressive offensively. And that's something where I think Adolski was more shrewd in terms of, we're going to try to win those 2-1 type games. I think so it's a risk, trying to get into a boat race with especially the higher end teams in WCHA, and St. Cloud hasn't been able to pick off any of those wins yet against those big teams, but they've been competitive in pretty much every game this year. We like to see that. I think the record, they have played the toughest schedule according to NPI. So, which I'm a fan of. You improve by playing the best. It's just you left with Carrico hurt for about a month. I think you left a win or two on the table, but I think the team is playing really well. It's just getting that first 3 series coming out of the gate in the second half I think is going to define the season, because you're going up against the cream of the crop type teams. And if they go put up an offer in that run like they did in the first half, it's going to be tough for them to come back from. But still, an exciting team to watch, and from the future especially, I think the program's in good hands.
And I think the Olympic break, it's going to take players from basically everybody in the conference.
About five players right now, the Huskies.
Minnesota could lose 5.
Yeah.
Ohio State's probably going to lose 5. Wisconsin, what's it, 6? This is going to take a good chunk of those teams. So if you can. With Minnesota, what I worry about is without Murphy, without Josephine Bouveng, without Primerano, where's the scoring going to come from in those in that month span where they don't have those players? So I think that the lower teams, maybe they can pick one off here and there.
Yep.
And St. Cloud's got 5 players that figure to be on Olympic rosters, and some big key names among them. Carrico, Sunderland, Zimmerman, and Urela, one of their better defenders. Svenja Vogt from Germany, more of a depth player. But the 4 players that I just mentioned before, 4 of your, top 8 most impactful players. And, we went over the schedule, they're playing Bemidji, they're playing St. Thomas, they're playing Mankato during that stretch. You think, well, it's kind of it's a break in terms of you're not seeing the top end teams. But then again, as you mentioned, the top end teams are also losing players during the Olympics. So that Mankato series, I don't know if Mankato is losing any players to the Olympics. So, I think that might be the worst time to play Mankato.
Yeah. I think, St. Thomas still with Johnson's recruits is almost all Minnesotan, although Brazen is kind of changing that. Mankato, I'm not sure what they have like outside of North America, and they have no one making the U.S. or Canadian roster.
Right. So yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm almost wondering like if this rink in Milan doesn't get built, maybe they'll like postpone the Olympic hockey until after the NCAA season. That way, St. Cloud doesn't get to miss any of these players. It is sort of a shame. Unlike the NHL that puts the season on pause during the Olympics, that's not the case in the NCAA. And you're playing some big games down the stretch without a bunch of your great players. It is kind of a shame. But at the same time, you want to see these players get that opportunity as well.
Well, I think a big difference is the presence of the PWHL, and I root for the New York Sirens. I know Dale Ross is on that team, although she hasn't made her debut yet because of injury. But the thing that the PWHL did in regards to Olympic purposes for the people listening who don't know, the U.S. and Canada both used to have centralization programs for the entire year, and they'd like pick players off the roster. Now they don't do that, and it's more like what the Europeans do. They just take the players for a month. So like, using like Wisconsin as an example, which they would have 5 players on the current team miss the entire season in previous years. And now, with the way things are now, they only have to lose them for a month, but it's still can be a pretty big loss when one day you have Caroline Harvey and then one day you don't.
Yeah.
Saw too, if we want to get a little bit ahead of ourselves with we're talking World Juniors, but we've got the Olympics obviously this year as well. And it did sort of catch my eye, and I'm like, whoa, did I read that correctly? The last rivalry series games, 10-4 and 4-1 wins for the US.
Yeah.
We just got a juggernaut on our hands now.
I think a lot of the stuff I've read from the Canadian women's hockey writers has been their coach Troy Ryan has been resistant to try new things or overly reliant on the veterans, and the U.S., a team which has a good chunk of youth, just Abby Murphy did Abby Murphy things, and and all those players like Heisey and Knight just ran all over him in those 2 games. And like the 10-4 game wasn't quite a 10-4 game, but the U.S. was still very clearly the better team. And I think, look, Canada, I'm never discounting a team like the Canadian women's team because they've given me so many sleepless nights in years of being a women's hockey fan. But it is one of those years where the U.S. is favored, and if they don't win the gold medal this time around, it would really leave a sour taste in basically every fan's mouth.
Especially, like you said, with the rivalry series and with those results. I mean, to lay an egg in the medal round would be deflating, to say the least.
And that is what happened in 2002. The U.S. won every game leading up to the gold medal game. It was on U.S. soil in Salt Lake City. And the U.S., as I understand, had a huge penalty advantage in that gold medal game, and they lost. So,
there's been a lot of
that
heartbreak.
Precedent has been there.
Yeah, there's for the women's team, and there was the empty net that hit the post.
Yep, I remember that game.
I felt like
they did get 2018, but in 2022, Canada was the significantly better team, just like in 2010. I think the U.S. is going to come in as the better team, and more importantly, as the more confident team. So I think the pressure's on. You got to get this one done.
We're entering the era now where it's like U.S. has pressure, which coming from someone who remembers in the 90s Team USA as still being the plucky underdog that they were in 1980. it's obviously a role that you want to be in, but it comes with some more pressure. And that's not something that they should be ashamed of or try to walk away from, but it's just, it adds an element that is a little bit new.
Yeah. I mean, like, especially with this being the first Olympics that the PWHL exists, and that you have, and this will be the case probably every 4 years, but you have more women's hockey fans around than ever before.
Yeah.
And like everyone's going to be a big one. And I remember being on like at 2:30 in the morning in 2018 watching the shootout between US and Canada from, I think my dad was on a trip, so it was in my mom's bedroom and making her stay awake and watch it with me. Like, high risk, high reward. When you win these games, and like the men's side hasn't in my lifetime, but when you win these games, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Indeed.
I have one more question that I want to ask, but if you guys have any final thoughts about any of the topics, go right ahead. This is Jerry Springer's final thoughts here.
Thank you again for having me on. I'm glad I can become your annual World Juniors Plus guest.
Yeah.
I really do just enjoy going on podcasts, and I guess this is the only podcast I have like a regular time slot.
It's the only one that you get a call back on, huh?
Yeah.
Happy to have you, because if anything else, it forces me to do some research. You're up on the World Juniors much more than I am. It's an event that I really like, but you have the insight, especially with the other teams. It's one thing to kind of focus on the U.S. In isolation, but kind of means little unless you're getting the context of all the other teams that they're going to be facing. So always look forward to you. The invite is always open. Maybe we should make this more than once every 12 months. We could get them on maybe in the summertime too, or something. Or even
I can talk draft. I can talk World Junior Summer Showcase. If you want to go deep dive on women's hockey, I can do that too.
Maybe we'll do like a Olympics preview. We touched a little bit on it here, but once we kind of have like rosters solidify for that, we got the NHL back in it. We think, again, knock on wood.
I'd love to do that.
That might be a good idea. We do have that bye week in February for the Huskies, so maybe we can. Well, no, because that'll be after the Olympics. But we can maybe make that work.
Well, who knows? Okay. The men's season will probably be over by then for the Huskies. So it's
we'll start, I think, early February. So it's actually coming up. But we might discuss.
Roster gets released January 2nd, I'm hearing.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll put a pin in that.
So, all right. My main question that I had is when we're looking at number one overall PWHL draft pick, Patty Kaz, I want to know who you got for predictions. And for me, number one, I'm looking at, you're looking at a healthy Harvey, KK Harvey, or you're looking at Abby Murphy. Because I think that those are your 1A, 1B.
I think, that's probably right. You can also add Layla Edwards into that mix. I think it's got to be Harvey, because already she's a top 5 defender in the world. I think that could be pretty well said. The defense in the professional league is not as strong as the forward group. I think you have to go for positional need, and Harvey, has basically every intangible that you want. I think Murphy is probably 2 for me, Edwards 3, even with Edwards' positional versatility. But it's going to be a great crop of PW.
Yeah, player up front.
Yeah, like it's going to be a great crop of PWHL in the PWHL draft, and for USA Hockey in the PWHL specifically.
Yeah.
As for Patty Kaz, the Olympics really do throw kind of a wrench in that. I probably would have said Harvey, but she's missing a whole month. I know Kaylin LaMarche at my master's degree alma mater, Quinnipiac, is having a great season in the East, and she's not Olympic bound. So, I wonder if she steals some votes. You probably can't justify someone winning the Patty Kaz with not even having played a month of the season.
I hadn't thought about that because Harvey was just like my presumptive pick for Patty Kaz. I mean, the fact that she's at the Olympics, it's possible they don't hold that against her because
maybe.
I mean, it's not like it was an injury or something like that. But yeah, I guess I hadn't thought that. That throws a wrench into it a little bit for me. I think I would still go Harvey. I think the St. Cloud players that we looked at based on their schedule, they would miss 6 games. And that's even if they played until the gold medal round. 6 games to me, and let's say like this probably shouldn't matter, but like if USA wins the gold, maybe that even like adds to her resume, so to speak. So I'll still go Harvey, even though that's a good point.
I think you make a valid point there. This is the first time we're really seeing this without the players taking off the whole season.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
you never know what will happen, and Harvey's never won the Patty Kaz before, so like it's the one thing she has left to do.
Yeah, and she has been like she's been in that conversation for a couple of years now. Like it feels like it's like a career culmination,
right?
More so than just this single season. We have a term for that on the show. It's the Pacino. When Pacino got his Best Actor for one of his lesser performances, Scent of a Woman.
I think Paul Newman. I think the same thing. He got it for The Color of Money.
Newman actually Pacino is one I actually saw. Glenn Ross recently, which is one of my favorites, and he got nominated the same year that he won. He got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Glenn Ross the same year that he won in Best Actor for Scent of a Woman. He's way better in Glenn Ross. They should have just given him the Oscar for that, even though
they didn't give it to him for Heat. Man, that's too bad.
No, Heat would have been after this. This was 92, but
okay, yeah.
But it could be a bit of a Pacino effect with Harvey. I still will go with her to win Patty Kaz. But that's a good point.
Harvey's to me still the best player in the country. Again, with
agreed.
With the Eastern voters, maybe splitting the votes, and the breakout season LaMarche has had. She's the one coming out of the East who.
And the East has kind of had. The East as a whole has kind of been disappointing this year.
Yeah, ECAC's been down this year.
Yeah,
Hockey East hasn't been quite as bad, but the ECAC's been down this well. I really like Annalise Bergman, the goalie at Cornell, but her numbers are not like otherworldly. So
yeah, it's hard for there to be an Eastern candidate. I'm just looking at the names here. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be one of the Wisconsin players, and most likely
Cassie Hall at Wisconsin's probably their best player who isn't going to the Olympics.
We got Tessa Janicki from Penn State, who's had a really good career.
But she'll be at the Olympics.
She'll be at the Olympics as well.
Yeah. No, Janicki is the best player, not in the WCHA, but she'll be at the Olympics.
Travis has had his eye on that Penn State Ohio State series coming up here.
I'm really excited for that tilt.
I think Ohio State's going to beat him by 3 goals in each game. You're getting deceived by that Penn State record because they play a bad schedule, mostly because they're in the Atlantic. They can't really do much about that.
But this is the put up or shut up time. So this is, are we going to take Penn State seriously?
At Ohio State,
why I'm really interested.
I don't. They're going to make the tournament. Obviously, they'll be a top 10 team.
Yeah,
but I think Ohio State, even though we saw what Wisconsin did to them just before the break, I think Ohio State's gonna handle them in both of those games.
It's a real test for Penn State, and again, Janicki is someone who would play top line at every single school in the country. She, was just loyal to the school she initially committed to.
It's interesting. Be a fun second half.
Very much so. Well, that about does her. This episode of the Huskies Hockey Podcast. Weldie and Andrew. I am at More Clappers, MOAR, More Clappers. Andrew, you can find him at
Andrew, SCSUHHP. You can also email the show, Huskies Hockey Podcast at gmail.com. And I've got the Substack, cloudcoveragehockey.substack.com. Check it out.
Jake, where can we
Jake
find
Baskin PXP, Jake Baskin PXP, JakeBaskin PXP. Also on Blue Sky, savepercentage.bsky.social. It used to be Jake Baskin, but I decided to take my last name off of the account and do that. Yeah.
So perfect. Well, thank you again for joining us, and we'll
always love having you,
on
Jake.
the call. We'll keep you on the call, so we'll keep you at the top of the rotation. So perfect. Until next time, go Huskies. Ooh.